Thank you very much. We're 1:29. I'm going to call our meeting to order. Welcome to all of those who are joining us online today. We have an agenda in front of us. Mr. Coleman, do we have any additions or deletions?
Madam Chair, no additions or deletions from administration today.
Thank you very much. Looking for someone to move the agenda as presented. Councillor Wanchuk, thank you very much. All in favor? That is unanimous. We have two sets of minutes. Can we move them at the same time, Ms. Gavin? Yes, we can. So looking for someone to move the minutes of October 25th, the organizational meeting, and October 25th, the regular council meeting. Councillor Smith will move those. Thank you. Comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's unanimous. We have an opportunity at the beginning of every meeting for anybody from the public who would like to address council on a matter that is not on the agenda can do so now. Okay, I am not seeing anyone move forward. We'll move on to 4B, which is staff introductions. And we're going to start with Ms. Klamosko and then Mr. Bain.
Good afternoon, Council. It's my pleasure today to introduce you to a new staff member that we have within the County Manager's Office Department. Her name is Amelia Argueta, and her background is in graphic design. She comes from the private industry, and this is her first opportunity in municipal government. So we're happy to have her on board. She's been here for almost a month. So really she'll be helping us with, obviously, a lot of the graphic design work that we need with all of the different publications and things that we do within the county. She'll also be involved in our social media monitoring and also a lot of work on the website.
Madam Chair, members of council, I'd like to introduce you to Keith Walker. Keith is our new safety codes officer in the building discipline. So Keith started with us on November the 2nd as part of the planning development team and safety codes. And he came to us from the town of Devon, where he was a building inspector there for the past 5 years. So Keith has been getting up to speed, learning our processes, working with our customers, and a lot of his work will be, of course, in this discipline would be around interacting with our customers, taking in permit applications, issuing permits, doing inspections, helping solve problems like the team does out in the field. So we're very happy to have Keith join us.
Welcome. And welcome. Okay, moving on to our department reports and recommendations. 5A1, bylaw, first reading to repeal bylaw 0518, Leduc County, County of Wetaskiwin, IDP, and we have Ms. Johnson and Mr. Evans. So when the floor is yours, whenever you're ready.
So good afternoon, Madam Chair and council members. Administration is recommending that council give first reading to the draft bylaw to repeal bylaw 0518, referred to as Leduc County, County of Wetaskiwin Intermunicipal Development Plan, and that council give first reading to the draft bylaw to repeal bylaw 3318, a bylaw adopting the intermunicipal collaboration framework. The Leduc County, County of Wetaskiwin Intermunicipal Development Plan, so IDP, was adopted in 2018 to comply with an update to the MGA that required municipalities that share common boundaries and where both municipalities are not members of a growth region to adopt an IDP. The purpose of the IDP is to provide a framework for land use along the common boundary of Leduc County and County of Wetaskiwin. The IDP requires that once every 4 years, the IDP be reviewed in conjunction with the ICF, so intermunicipal collaboration framework, by the Intermunicipal Liaison Committee. The Intermunicipal Liaison Committee met on October the 20th to discuss the IDP and the ICF. At that time, the Intermunicipal Liaison Committee endorsed the repeal of the IDP by the respective councils. Administrations for both Leduc County and County of Wetaskiwin recommend the IDP be repealed for the following reasons. First, the Leduc County and County of Wetaskiwin interface is comprised primarily of agricultural lands, and that land use will remain static into the foreseeable future. Therefore, a growth management plan along the interface is not needed. While Leduc County and County of Wetaskiwin have a shared interest in Wizard Lake and Pigeon Lake, the lakes are transected by the IDP, and only a minimal area of land surrounding the Pigeon Lake and Wizard Lakes fall within the IDP area. The respective MDPs can effectively manage land use along the common boundary and are more comprehensive than the IDP. The MGA requires municipalities to coordinate land use and growth in their respective municipal development plans where no IDP exists. Leduc County and the County of Wetaskiwin have a history of working cooperatively together and will continue to do so through various forums, including regular updates to the ICFs. The MGA no longer requires municipalities that have common boundaries and where both municipalities are not members of a growth region to adopt an IDP with each other if they agree one is not required. Repealing the IDP removes one layer of policy that can be effectively addressed through the respective MDPs. The IDP does not outline the process for repealing the IDP, as the MGA did not allow for the repeal of the IDP at the time the IDP was adopted. The MGA requires the repeal to be made in the same way as the original bylaw. The County of Wetaskiwin Council gave first reading to repeal the IDP on November 15th and has scheduled a public hearing to garner feedback on the proposed repeal of the IDP the morning of December 13th. Leduc County has scheduled a public hearing to garner feedback on the proposed repeal of the IDP on the afternoon of December the 13th. At the Intermunicipal Liaison Committee meeting held on October 20th, the committee requested the current referral time for the referral of discretionary development permits of 21 days be reduced to 14 days. Moving forward, Leduc County and County of Wetaskiwin administrations will work together to update the respective MDPs to reflect this request and consider other policies that may be required in the absence of the IDP. So with respect to the ICF was adopted by Leduc County and County of Wetaskiwin in 2018. The purpose of the ICF is to provide for the integrated and strategic planning, delivery, and funding of the intermunicipal services. The MGA requires municipalities that share a common boundary and are not members of a growth region to have an ICF. On October the 20th, as mentioned earlier, the Intermunicipal Liaison Committee met. They reviewed the ICF and at that time made a recommendation to repeal the ICF. And they also made a recommendation for the updated ICF to be approved by resolution of the respective councils to streamline future reviews of the ICF. Now, I'm not looking for approval of the updated ICF today. That will be a future date. I just attached that to the report just for your information. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much for that report. So really looking at removing some red tape that was put in by legislation and now we can remove. Any comments or any questions for administration on the report? I am seeing none. I'm looking for someone to move first reading. Councillor Balazer will move first reading to repeal bylaw 0518 as referred to as Leduc County, County of Wetaskiwin IDP or Intermunicipal Development Plan. Are we moving them both at the same time as Gavin? No, separately. Okay. We have first reading on the floor. We had an opportunity to actually meet with Wetaskiwin County. It was a great meeting. We had, it was an opportunity for us to actually meet some of the new counselors, but also to talk about this work and know that we have a very strong relationship working with them and believe that with or without this document, we'll still be able to get the work that needs to be done. So we're going to call the question on first reading. All in favor? That is unanimous. Looking for someone to move the first reading to repeal bylaw 3318, which is the ICF or Intermunicipal Collaboration Framework. Councillor Scobie will put his name to that. Comments, questions? I am seeing none. I'm going to call the question on first reading. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. On to 5A3, which is first reading to repeal the IDP with the City of Leduc. Ms. Johnson, is that yours as well?
That is. Administration is recommending council give first reading to the draft bylaw to repeal bylaw 3011, referred to as the City of Leduc, Leduc County Intermunicipal Development Plan. In 2021, administration for City of Leduc and Leduc County met several times to discuss updating the City of Leduc, Leduc County IDP as it was scheduled for review. On November 25th, 2021, a letter was received from Mayor Young indicating that City Council voted in favor of repealing the IDP and IDP Memorandum of Understanding and requested the administrations work together to arrange a joint council meeting. The mayor indicated City Council was of the opinion that the Edmonton Metropolitan Region Growth Plan provides sufficient legislation to address any concerns that may arise. And given the MGA does not mandate an IDP, it was not necessary to retain the IDP. On December 17th, Mayor DeBlanco responded to Mayor Young, indicating Leduc County Council believes it is in the best interest of both the city and county to retain the IDP, requested the City of Leduc reconsider repealing the IDP, and agreed to schedule a joint council meeting to further discuss same. On February 10th, a joint council meeting with the city was held. At the joint council meeting, the county expressed the desire to retain the IDP, provided an overview of the rationale for retaining the IDP, and posed a series of questions as to how matters of mutual interest would be dealt with in the absence of the IDP. No response was received from the City of Leduc. On February 28th, the City of Leduc Council gave first reading to repeal the IDP through their consent agenda. Thereafter, the city administration inquired as to whether the county would compel mediation prior to City Council giving second reading of the IDP. On April 26th, Leduc County Council passed a motion agreeing to waive the requirement for mediation prior to the city considering second reading of the bylaw to repeal the IDP, provided the city agrees to engage in constructive discussion with Leduc County to address intermunicipal issues within the respective MDPs. On June 27th, City Council had a public hearing and gave second reading to repeal the IDP. On August 4th, a letter was received from Mayor Young agreeing to engage in constructive discussion with Leduc County to address intermunicipal issues with the respective municipalities, MDPs. On August 22nd, the city gave third reading to repeal the IDP. The repeal of the IDP by the city has rendered the IDP inoperative and ineffective. For this reason, administration recommends council give first reading to the draft bylaw to repeal bylaw 3011, referred to as the City of Leduc, Leduc County IDP. Moving forward, Leduc County and City of Leduc administrative staff will work together to amend the respective MDPs to cover off any policies that may be required in the absence of the IDP.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for administration on the recommendation to repeal the IDP? I am seeing none. Thank you very much for the report. It does show that the county has worked very hard to try and keep the IDP in place because we believed it to be a very strong and it is a very strong planning tool. Unfortunately, only one party, if one party chose not to have it, it could render it not useful, which is kind of what's happened Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. Unfortunately, if there's a concern that gets brought up between Leduc County and Leduc City, the last place we would take it is to a regional board. So it's unfortunate that they didn't see the value in keeping this continuing for our communication with them.
Thank you. All right, I'm seeing no further hands, looking for someone to put their name to the bylaw. Councillor Balazer, that we give first reading to the bylaw to repeal bylaw 3011, referred to the City of Leduc County Intermunicipal Development Plan or IDP. Any further debate on the item? Just a thank you to administration. We've had an opportunity to look at this item many times in workshops, in camera situations. So council has been well versed on the progress that this has taken, as well as the implications of repealing it. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you. 5A. For subdivision approval validation requests, extension request.
That's correct, Madam Mayor.
And you brought back up Mr. Desmoni. Whenever you're ready, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So concerning the subdivision request for the subdivision application file SD 07-072, the lands are located at the southeast of, I don't know what that is.
It was first things first.
Yes.
We've been having some.
Ask me later. That's the answer
Okay.
I'm going to give.
It'll pop up in about 3 minutes.
So the lands are located at the southeast of 10, 50, 23, west of the 4th. On the map there, you can see they are at the intersection or a half mile south of Township Road 502 and along Range Road 232. This is the subdivision approval, the conditional approval that currently exists for this subdivision, approved back in 2007. That's the design, as you can see there, the tentative plan. This is an aerial photograph of the lands taken roughly from 2007 at the time, giving an indication of the surrounding lands. These are the lands as identified within our country residential area, which is identified in our municipal development plan. And this is the land zoning or the districting of the lands currently. So the lands are districted as agricultural country residential transitional district. So on August 21st, 2007, the subdivision authority conditionally approved this subdivision for 32 lots, residential lots, ranging in size from 1 hectare to 2 hectares, including 1 PUL lot, 2 environmental reserve lots, and 1 municipal reserve lots. As stated, the lands are districted as agricultural country residential transitional district in our land use bylaw. This district is primarily for agricultural operations while providing for limited residential uses. The most recent, so there have been 4 total extensions of the subdivision since 2007, the most recent being August 21st, 2021, or 2020 rather, is when it expired. A development agreement was drafted in 2011, however, was never entered into with the proponent. So the Leduc County planning policies have changed significantly since 2007. So the country residential area, as we see there in our municipal development plan, stipulates that an area structure plan should guide development to ensure that subdivisions will align with the vision and goals and objectives of that area structure plan. At this time, my understanding is that we are at work on an area structure plan, but one has not been adopted yet. So the Leduc County practice is that for extensions request to the 1-year subdivision of endorsement and registration, that subdivision extension requests not be supported in circumstances where there has been substantive changes to county statutory plans, including the municipal development plan. We have the Edmonton Metropolitan Region Growth Plan. Since that time, there has been changes in provincial legislation as well. And as well as where the additional yearly extension for 1 more year is more than 5 years from the date on which the original decision was made by the appropriate authority. And under those circumstances, these are the reasons why administration is recommending that Leduc County Council deny the extension request for this subdivision.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Madam Mayor.
Questions for administration? Counselor Lewis?
So you mostly answered one of my questions, that this falls within our Southern Country Residential Area Structure Plan that is currently underway. This should be held to that standard once approved, right?
Madam Mayor, that's correct. Not only that, the area structure plan, once it's adopted, would facilitate a redistricting to an appropriate district for residential development of this nature. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're good. If council upholds the decision to deny the request, what happens next for this development or the potential of this development?
Well, there's a letter of intent in here that expresses an interest in participating in an area structure plan. The sequencing is off because we have an approved subdivision. So that couldn't change even with the change of an area structure plan. So the way it would be is if an area structure plan is adopted, then these lands would probably have something like an outline plan to define what type of a development it is. It would have that opportunity for public engagement, come
Okay.
before council for adoption, and that would support eventual redistricting and subdivision for these lands.
So it would create a better fit in what's happening with the larger area.
Absolutely, Madam Chair.
Okay, Counselor Smith?
Again, it looks like we might be a little bit late to the table on an area structure plan with the development that's already gone on in that area. We need people in Leduc County. And of course, I'll always support these extensions as much as possible. And I see there's a lot of things that have changed since the original approval. But again, I'm always willing to give people one more chance. As you can see in the area, there's subdivisions on each side. So we're not doing something that's different than we've already done. There is an area structure plan that comes in, and if you've gone through the package, there was some talk in the package about 2 wells being on the site. And perhaps Alberta Environment, again, some of the subdivisions we have water on site, have the wells and have servicing. So for me, I will move the recommendation, move a recommendation that the Leduc County Council accept the request to extend for 1 more year, as referred to in section 6575, I think that is, to November 2023. And the reason, again, always willing to give people a chance. I see some of the reasons we had in there was COVID coming out. I mean, we've done that. It seems to be in the rearview mirror now. But a 1 year, I see a timeline in this subdivision. I see a promise to start in the spring. And I would, again, give the applicant 365 days to show me and any other fellow councillor that supports it that the work that was promised in this application today actually follows through, because I probably won't be as agreeable the next time if it were to come back for an extension, if again nothing happens and then it comes back in. We're getting pretty far out from the original subdivision. So again, recommendation on the floor, and I'll be supporting it.
Counselor Lewis?
Thank you. Mr. Desimone, one of the comments in the letter from the client was that the inventory of country residential lots in Leduc County is now low enough to support the development of more country residential acreage lots. Can you tell me if you know where our inventory is as far as it being low enough for more subdivisions?
Madam Mayor, I don't know if I could answer that. I don't know what the standard for that would be as far as what low kind of would mean or the need for it. So I could follow up and we could look at that information and try to establish what undeveloped country residential lots we have.
I have a question. I'm looking at the September 4th, 2007 approval letter and the conditions, which include supply of potable water by truck delivery to cisterns. Part of our discussion with the new area structure plan is that not only is that very expensive for potential buyers, it creates issues on our roads. If this extension is approved, are these the conditions to which they're held to? Okay, so then they can put in cisterns even though everybody else is going to have to. Okay, all right. Thank you. Counselor Smith?
And again, suggesting the draft that before us does allow cisterns with a longer range. And again, if you went through the package, there was a suggestion that the 2 water wells that are on the site may be adequate. And I'll go back to a Wildland Meadows, which has 2 water wells on it that are used on a central distribution. And I'll go back to New Sarepta. That town had, I think, 2 or 4 producing wells at the time. So the potential to put in a central water system is there. And again, if you look at the sewer, there's a part of the agreement would be sewer on site. And again, that's not here nor there. That needs to be approved by other people, including Alberta Environment. But there is provisions inside of the applicant's package that was delivered today that would be something going forward. And again, you have 365 days to show me what you've said you're going to do is there. I'm willing to give a developer who has the potential to bring in, if you look at the package, if it were to be a build out, there would be some more dollars in Leduc County, and we're short of people. So I had to chuckle as well. In 2007, one of the letters is there was no room in the schools to bring more people in, and thank goodness that we did, because the schools were almost failing at that time. So there, if you read the package carefully, there are provisions for central water, perhaps central sewer already. Again, we're still not in SCARPS. It hasn't been approved. It's coming forward. So holding an applicant to a draft area structure plan may not be the best idea today in decision making.
Thank you. Any further comments? All right, I will comment for a second time. We're looking at a 14-year lag here. We're not looking at 2 or 3 years. We have significant changes, as we heard administration talk about. I appreciate Councillor Smith's perspective on we need more people in the county. I'm not sure I would agree or accept that, but that's my own opinion. What's before me now is a request to extend something that is already 14 years old. I assume that these people can come forward again with a new application, work with the current work on the ASP and create something that fits in. Otherwise, we're going to have something that doesn't fit in. The notion of central water and sewer is a great idea. I think we've seen it has its challenges, has not been tested well in the area, and certainly don't want to put any more people at risk of investing in something that may not be what they expect in the end. So I will not be supporting the recommendation to extend for 1 year. 14 years is a long time to think about how we're going to do this. COVID has only been a 2-year blip in the cycle. So I won't be supporting it. I think that this applicant has had significant and multiple opportunities to get started on this, including a development permit that was never entered into in 2011. And so for those reasons, I will not be supporting it. The floor is open for further debate. Go ahead, Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. Is there any reason that the development agreement wasn't fulfilled after last year? Like it was never actually submitted after we did the extension in 2020? Is that correct?
That's correct, Madam Mayor.
Do you know any reason why?
It was by request of the applicants that the further extension not be done at that time. So I couldn't speak more to it other than that.
Okay.
Other than the
Thank you.
request.
Any further comments or questions? Okay, we have a motion to honor the request to extend the 1-year period referred to in section 6575 to November 2020, 2023. I'm seeing no further comments or questions. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is lost. I will put a subsequent, do we need a subsequent motion? Yes, I will put a subsequent motion that Leduc County deny the request to extend the 1-year period as referred to in section 6575 to November 22, 2023. Motion is on the floor and we're open for debate. Councillor Smith?
Again, if you took the time to read your package, you would see that there is potential here to probably on a full build out realize $400,000 extra in taxation. That's important to our taxpayers that we have more of them here. Business do well. But when you have a population of 14,000, it's not good for your schools. It's not good for your businesses. It's not good for the ratepayers. So again, we've got to be careful as we sit and we go through budget and we struggle paying and purchasing and doing infrastructure with the dollars that we have. Yet we turn down people moving here. We turn down businesses that can be located. So it's really this realistically 365 days to give the new purchaser, there's a purchase agreement in here, that chance to go through. All we ask is to give people a chance to do it. And I realize it's 14 years, but that's an artificial deadline that's there. If it's not done in a year, then I'm done with it as well. But I really struggle as I drive home and we deny people the ability to buy a lot that they may want with the central. We deny well-placed businesses. And so again, just when we sit in budget and we go, where are we going to get the money? Sometimes we need to look out and move some residents in and do some things that actually are sensitive to collecting tax dollars and bringing in. I love people sharing tax rates with me. I pay mine and put some neighbors beside me because anyway, we'll see where the vote goes, but I sure wish you would consider the larger ramifications of what it does to the bottom line for Leduc County.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. Well, I understand your point of view, Councillor Smith. I too like people here. I look at some of the points that administrations point out where there's been substantive changes to the statutory plan, the MDP, and I question what changes have been made where it would cause issues down the road for taxpayers in the county that might have to hand over more money for concerns when it comes to roads and issues like water and how we get it to the people. So I will be supporting Mayor DeBlanco's recommendation.
Thank you. Any further questions? We have a motion on the floor to deny the request for an extension. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Smith, that is carried. Thank you very much. On to report 5B. Is it Mr. Honesty? Yes, it is. There he is. 5B1, 2020 Recreation Capital Program, City of Beaumont. Whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon. We have been working with the City of Leduc, or City of Beaumont, apologize, for several years as we share services related to recreation. The first item before you addresses an outstanding matter which has not been formally approved by council. The way our current cost share works is that a project is supported by council, and then it is financially supported once the project is completed. We had one project submitted by the City of Leduc for 2020, which was a renovation to the Ken Nickel Arena. Our portion of that project is $64,701, which applies to the cost share percentage at that time.
Thank you. Questions for administration? Councillor Smith?
I know we paid for the parking lot. To admit, did we not pay for the roof when we jumped back in? Like I haven't gone through my books, but I thought it was an expenditure that already rolled through because I know the parking lot was there and we kind of struggled with that and we brought it back in. But can I get us to double check we haven't paid them for the roof already?
Mr. Honesty, are you confident?
Yeah, the project for the parking lot would have been the previous year to that.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
so
so
this is-
they didn't come to us again, through the chair, they didn't come to us for the roof and
They
I'm-
did, yeah, correct.
we denied?
No, the project for the roof was supported. The final completion letter was sent to us in 2021. Just do some administrative delays and processes, and then waiting for some of this other cost share related items to be addressed. This item has not come forward to council for this project.
So just to follow up, part of it has been paid and you're looking for truing up the cost share?
This would be our total contribution towards that project.
Oh, okay.
Is it 7.97% is our cost share?
At that
Pete.
time.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good questions. Thank you. So we were aware of this project. We were informed. Sometimes I get frustrated when partners will go ahead and make decisions outside of the committee without informing us and then ask us for our share. I appreciate that this was all done within the committee structure with the knowledge of our administration. We also know that certainly the city of Beaumont and their recreation facilities supports a very large proportion of our county. So it's a good thing to have, and we certainly don't want to be running these on our own. So any further comments or questions? Councillor Lewis?
Just further to your comment, we did have a very candid conversation with some members of the Beaumont Council and their committee and let them know that if we don't know about it,
Perfect.
we can't be in and won't
Right.
support it.
Perfect. Thank you for that. That's, and again, that's just what a partnership is. And we're always, and you never know what great ideas we'll bring to the table. Okay, looking for someone to put the recommendation on the floor. Councillor Lewis, go ahead.
That Leduc County Council support the 2020 capital program as submitted by the city of Beaumont and funding contribution of $64,701.
$1. Thank you. All right, we have really close math. I appreciate that, Mr. Honesty. Any more comments, questions, or debate? Motions on the floor. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, on to recreation cost share capital, City of Beaumont, Mr. Honesty.
There's two items that previously with council were not supported when reviewed by council in 2021. They were not supported at that time, and we provide that notification to council. As part of the continued review process with our cost share committee, we did re-engage in some conversations with the City of Leduc council representatives and have proposed a contribution. These two projects were identified to us previously. It's just a little bit of a change. You know, when our processes, we're continuing to improve our processes. We had some administrative notification, but we were waiting for actual approval from their budget process. That occurred. We then presented this to council a couple months later, and at that time, we did not support it. Our recommendation, after having continued conversations with the city, is to contribute to a portion of those projects, and we've identified those breakdowns for you. Both projects were completed by the city. One is defined as the West Recreation Site, which includes ball diamond expansions to support baseball and other ball-related activities. And the second project is a turf artificial field, which was installed within the city and supports not only football and soccer, but various other activities that occur on there. We think that we know that is a need for the city, and it contributes and supports all of our residents that participate in those activities. And through our negotiations with the City of Leduc, we have identified some additional sponsor recognition that would contribute towards our contribution. So those are yet to be defined formally through administration, but they have committed that both sites will have more formal recognition of Leduc County. And for that, we are recommending a contribution of $50,000 to each project for a total of $100,000.
Thank you very much. Councillor Smith.
If you go to page 182 of 491 in our package, I have a little bit, I'm not a sponsor. We're not a sponsor. We're a cost share partner. So ensuring it has the West Recreational Site, the amount that goes in and has sponsor recognition. I don't know, maybe we are buying a sponsorship there, but I think what we're doing is we're cost sharing. And again, we had said no to the project. We probably wouldn't have went ahead because the county didn't have the money to do those projects. So we said no. Have I seen value in those? I have. I get a lot of my parents. I looked at the football field and I went, why? But then I have lots of parents go, wow, is that ever great? And there's soccer and things that are going on. So I've kind of, okay, there are a few, and the West Recreational Site does have it. And I see in there that our residents can use the dog park. And just so Beaumont knows, their residents can use Leduc County as well as the dog park. So that's pretty good. Going forward, can we tell them that we're not sponsors. We are cost share partners. And that's where I have a problem with the West Recreational Site as a sponsorship. It's a cost share, it's reduced. And we said no. But we're coming back and going, okay, but this is the last time that you're going to do a project and come back to us 3 years later. And I see Dean does now have a 10-year program. For that, I appreciate it. So I would be supportive of it today if we could change the sponsor recognition to cost share recognition, cost share partner at that.
Mr. Honesty?
Yeah, just to clarify, we've worded as sponsor, but this is a negotiated amount for the cost share. Our amount as per the cost share would have been 248,000 and 307,000. So through the negotiation is where we determined the $50,000. I've used the word sponsor because we wanted to enhance our recognition, but it is our cost share contribution, which has been negotiated. So we have that ability to approve projects, maybe not at their full contribution.
Could I follow up?
Yep.
Again, sometimes sponsorship means to me in 4 years, they want another $50,000 to keep my logo up there. And I'll just go back to the Leduc Field House where we have it. Sponsor, I see why you're doing it. And sometimes we do sponsor stuff on Black Gold Rodeo. But this is a cost share that we said no to. And now it's a cost share proposal that will come back and not do a sponsorship, but a reduced cost share. So you word it how you want, but I just want to be concerned. A lot of people take our sponsorship, our cost share and everything for granted. And we contribute a lot of money in the region. So again, proper recognition for those dollars going out. And again, Dean, no disrespect meant on the sponsorship. I know you buy those in Black Gold and I know you do a lot of that. But I just think this agreement and this extra $100,000 is more than a sponsorship. I believe it's a partnered cost share with reflection after.
Thank you. Councillor Lewis?
Just to reconfirm what I said previously, we did have that conversation, Dean and I, with their committee, and they are 100% in the know that if they do not come to us, we will not support it.
Appreciate that. I mean, we said that on this one and we're coming back with a lower amount. But we've had a change in elected officials there. It is there. I hear that it's being used significantly. Certainly not something I see or drive by a lot. Doesn't mean it's not being used. But if our administration and the committee is recommending it, then I will follow their wisdom in this item. Looking for someone to put a motion on the floor. If there's no more comments or questions, Councillor Lewis.
That Leduc County Council support the 2021-2022 capital project summary from the City of Beaumont and the following funding contributions: West Recreation Site, $50,000, Four Seasons Artificial Turf, $50,000.
Thank you. Motions on the floor. Any further comments or questions? I am seeing none. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. On to another money item.
Our last item, and it contributed to all of the previous items, was our conversations with the City of Beaumont regarding updating our cost share agreement. As council recalls, we just finalized the process with the City of Leduc as well. And the changes reflected in here are similar to what the improvements that we made through the City of Leduc process. So we did identify certain changes to that, and we did receive updated financials from the City of Beaumont to reflect their 2022 budget. Key changes that are highlighted in there include a change which previously approved by council to the population percentage that we contribute, and that's a result of the 2021 census and our growth in that area. So that is a substantial increase to 11.43%, which does affect the budget. We have also made sure that the termination clause is in there and adjusted, which resembles what we did with the City of Leduc as well, which allows the agreement to be canceled. Other minor adjustments to that include we've included the Beaumont Community Centre in there. It is a small financial amount based on some of their actuals, and these are more consistent now that that facility has been operating for a few years, and we think that it has it's not just a community hall, it's used for many sport and activities for our residents. So we've added that contribution in there as well. The other change would include the fact that, similar to the City of Leduc, is that we will as a committee meet annually, which will allow us to stay more informed of some of their budget and capital and their long-term plans that they've included as well. So our recommendation does require some increased funding for 2022, as well as we have budgeted for some increases for 2023 and 2024 to support the cost share contributions.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. Questions, Councillor Smith?
The comments I have, and again, it's just a bit of, as we see the increased population there, and that's not going to change. This is going to be an issue for Leduc County with escalating costs, and we do have a cost share. One thing, and I talked to Dean about it, is perhaps we should look at putting up 2 soccer fields in the East Vistas, and Beaumont would pay 89% of the, and we would pay 11%. So that's where we need to be careful with them coming forward. And this is just, I'm just saying as an example, if Leduc County came back and went, we're building 2 soccer field houses, Leduc, your bill is 89% of it, or Beaumont, your bill is 89%, and we would pay the other. In a cost share, they'd be obliged to do it that way. So just a word of caution, this is going to be a pressure point financially as our residents take up more and more a percentage of Beaumont's recreational dollars. And again, I don't know if you workshop it or what you do to make sure that we can keep up. And sometimes that may be having a conversation in a workshop about maybe building some of your own facilities. And I know I've talked to Dwayne about it, and it's a lot of money, and they don't make money and you waste. But again, just a pressure point coming up. These are escalated dollars going forward, and I don't see them coming down anytime soon. Thank you.
Thank you. So your third bullet talks about the population allocation up 11.43% from 7.7%. I would assume that Beaumont's population would have grown more than at a higher rate than that would have offset some of our growth.
Yeah, and it's lessons learned a little bit. The way the previous agreement was structured is that we would adjust annually based on their census. If they did a city census,
okay,
it's the submission to the municipal affairs. So we, over the last so many years, would keep decreasing our percentage. And when there's a 5-year census, it gets adjusted.
Okay.
So our growth was for the 5 years. As they grew, we were
adjusting.
reducing that.
Okay.
So a little bit of a lesson learned in one, anticipating that growth,
Yeah,
and being ready for that next census and trying to budget for that a little bit better.
My second question is just about the fixed contribution. I thought with the City of Leduc, we had one number for all 3 years. Why is this one number for 2022 and then a different and significantly larger number for the next 2 years?
Yeah, and that's part of the negotiation process. The numbers would have been 440 for all 3 years.
Okay.
Because we're very late in the year in 2022. And part of this contribution is our recognition for funds that are given to community groups through their recreation funding. And part of that is that they will recognize Leduc County for those contributions. So we just made a slight adjustment to that. As you know, those are very open conversations, and we just agreed to 3 set numbers. But the true numbers, as you see, would be 440 for 3 years.
And last question, when we worked on this type of an agreement with the City of Leduc, it was really around making sure that we were removing some of those unnecessary administration costs. Like we mowed the soccer field and it took 2 hours, and then we did the verge, which isn't part of the cost share. That only took an hour. Is this the same type of agreement?
Correct. They define their sport fields costs as true costs of sport fields, so it's easy to track. And then we follow the same process with as I mentioned, the contributions through recreation grants.
Okay.
So we've removed items that either don't apply or are already supported in some way through Leduc County. So that similar process is followed for the City of Beaumont as we did with the City of Leduc.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? Seeing none, you seem to be asking for a lot of money today, sir. I will put the motion on the floor that council approve the revised recreation cost share agreement with the city of Beaumont, along with the contribution of $425,000 funded by the approved 2022 operating budget of $325,000 with the remaining, am I on the right one? Yes. With the remaining $100,000 funded by the operating special purpose future year initiative reserve or 2022 internal savings. Okay, motions on the floor. Looking for any further comments or questions. Recreation, like everything else, seems to be getting expensive. Inflation is hitting everyone, I assume, with the cost of operating. So it is the cost of recreation. All in favor? Unanimous. On to 5B4 Community Recreation Grant Funding 2022. And you're being joined by Andrea.
Thank you.
Whenever you're ready.
This is a very similar process to previous years. We annually request submissions from our communities and our not-for-profits for recreation and arts and cultural funding. We then review those submissions with our Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee and then bring the recommendation forward to council for approval. So we have followed that traditional process and are recommending items for support for 2023. And just to clarify, we provide the funding now, and then the activities and programs will be administered in 2023. These are, we changed this process a few years ago, which allows them a little bit more notice to plan and execute their activities and their events. So Andrea can provide any clarifications. We have reviewed these, and each applicant provides a formal lengthy submission. What we've done for council is just provide a brief overview, but we do review that in even more detail with our advisory committee for recommendation.
Thank you for that. Myself and Councillor Blaser sit on PRAC. We had an opportunity to work with the committee through these. There were some excellent questions, and you can see with some of the comments that are in red, reflecting where we thought there might have been a misunderstanding in what the grant funding was for, as in not capital items, or something much larger like the Rundle's mission, which was looking for a much larger scope of work than we believed fit in here. That's reflected in there. We also tried to ensure that where possible and it fit, everyone got maybe not everything they asked for, but enough to kind of get them going and keep them working. So that's just a comment from the committee. Anything from you, Councillor Blaser?
No, I agree with Rundle's mission. Being in my division, I was, sorry about that, was partially in support of it, but at the end of the day, it just didn't fit properly. So no, I have no other comments on that. Thanks, Danny.
Thanks. Any further questions on the items on there? Thank you, Councillor Lewis.
Just comment that there was $78,000 in asks and somehow you narrowed it down to $30,000. It's a lot of hard work and a lot of maybe disappointed people, but appreciate the work that was put into that.
Thank you. And again, to administration, a really strong process we worked through. Questions were asked and answered, and when they weren't, they got back to us. So it made it for easy work. And it's great to have this type of activities happening out in our communities, out where our residents live, across the county. So if there's no questions, look for somebody to put the motion on the floor, and if we want to debate it, Councillor Wanchuk will put the motion on the floor that we approve the 2022 Recreation and Cultural Grant Funding allocations. Number 1, regional recreation grants, and number 2, arts and culture grants. Okay, I'm seeing no further comments or debate. So I'll call the question. All in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Will you be able to let people know now that the money's coming out? That'll be good news for many of them, and they can start doing their planning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just in time for Christmas. Yeah. Thank you very much. On to 5C, which is assessment services, adjustment of property tax due to fire, tax roll 697190. Ms. Bernand, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor DeBlanco, Council.
So this is a request for adjustment of property taxes due to fire. On May 20th, 2020, the residence located at 3023-016 Township Road 504 was completely destroyed by fire. It is at the discretion of council to prorate, refund, or defer taxes. No adjustment would be made to land or those buildings that were not destroyed by fire. Calculation is before you. The recommendation is that council approve the refund of the municipal portion of the taxes in the amount of $825.17 for the time that the improvement was destroyed by fire.
Thank you. Councillor Smith?
Again, traditionally, we have gone through when someone has suffered a fire and we have prorated their taxes. So I would be prepared today to move the recommendation that council approve the refund of the municipal portion of the taxes in the amount of $825.17 for the time that the improvement was destroyed by fire.
Thank you. I will support that motion. It certainly is tragic enough to lose a building by fire. And again, there isn't an asset there for us to tax. The request was made. I will certainly support that. Councillor Lewis?
I too will support this and appreciate that it's only the building that was destroyed by the fire that's not being taxed, but the outbuildings are still being taxed.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor? Unanimous or an agreement?
Thank you very much.
On to Mr. Mridlod. Is this your name's not on the report? So it threw me for a, come on, Chelsea. We're on.
Had a furnace issues, so.
We're on 5D1, which is municipal standards, and the floor is yours whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, council. The municipal standards were presented and accepted at the November 14th Public Works Committee and requested to be presented to council for approval. The municipal standards provide a set of guidelines that outline the minimum acceptable standards for new municipal infrastructure required for land developments and infrastructure. It provides a mutual understanding between the county and developers. The municipal standards protect the county and the developers as they provide safety and reliability as the products and services are dependable. The Leduc County Municipal Standards document was updated in 2005 and was overdue for review. During that review process, administration reviewed our standards and adjacent municipalities. We reviewed relevant documents from TAC and Alberta Transportation. We also completed a necessary capacity study to ensure the structures were appropriate for projected load bearing. Administration has retained WSP to draft the updated municipal standard drawings. As a pilot project, administration referred the document to current developer consultants, and they provided valuable comments and discussion. This resulted in a few amendments and the completion of the attached final document. This document will be reviewed on an annual basis and will be amended if required. Are there any questions?
Well, just a comment. Thank you very much for this document. It provides great detail in what's required. I guess my only question is, as things change with standards and building standards, what's the plan for updating that? I hope we're not waiting 5 years. What would be your plan from engineering for updating? Yep.
Madam
Mr.
Chair,
Mridlod?
so as new technology evolves, we will usually get the revised standard proposed to us by the developers or their consultants, and we'll review it at that point in time for acceptability. A number of years ago, the only service material, for instance, would have been copper pipe,
Great.
but now there's other things, PVC, high tech, that's available. When I first started in the county some time ago, they still had plastic pipe, mind you, but it was just solid wall plastic pipe. But now you see ribbed pipe, things of that nature, which are commonly used as well. It took a while before that sort of standard was acceptable. And even things that are commonplace now, like cement stabilization, geotextile, wasn't necessarily in place 20, 25 years ago, or at least commonly used. So as new technology becomes available, we will accept that. And in some cases, we will even trial it if it makes sense.
So will we be then adding that to this document? This will become more of a living document than a static every 5 years we'll update it? Like is that kind of the plan?
Yeah, exactly. So every 5 years or so, we will update it and again revisit with council as necessary. If there's something that is new and unusual that requires a one-off, We may look at it from an administrative perspective, and if it works, then we'll put it as part of the formal document itself.
Okay, because a lot of times changes are made, Alberta government, I'm just on page 101 of the document, just happened to be there, and it talks about wet ponds. We know that wetlands, how we manage runoff and all of that is highly monitored by the province. And so we need to ensure that whatever we have in here is reflective of what current legislation and practices, correct?
Absolutely. Again, when I first started with the organization, dry ponds were the only type of ponds that were constructed. As you mentioned, wet ponds, wetlands are the ones that are preferred right now. And in some jurisdictions, they're actually reverting back to dry ponds. So things do have a little bit of a cyclical cycle, but
How
we
long have you
want
been here then? No, just kidding.
some time. We'll just say that, but it's, we do need to keep up with the current standards and make sure that we are business ready and making sure that we are a municipality of choice for development, that we are good to work with, easy to work with, but at the same time, not necessarily giving away the store. We want to make sure we're looking after municipal interests as well.
No, I think it's a very, it's a great document to have put together. I'm just glad to hear that you worked with some developers and ran it by them and it works for them because that's who it needs to work for. Any further questions or comments? There's a lot of math in here. Seeing none, looking for someone to make a motion. Councillor Scobie, go ahead. I'm going all crazy here. I've lost mine. Okay, any further comments, questions, debate? Seeing none, to staff, thank you very much for all your hard work. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? That is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Amro missed an easy one, I guess.
That's why I took it.
With that, I will adjourn our council meeting at 2:31. We are adjourned.